Arcade Technologies, and today we are going to look what are quality gates that we do for a good code to develop. So with that, what are quality gates basically? They are kind of a list of checklists or points that we make sure when any incoming object or the objects meet all the necessary conditions or constraints to perform certain actions. So we need to make sure everything is all good. So let's take an example of an airport, or when we are going to board a flight, we'll be going through a number of checks in the airport. So basically, it will be like a check-in, where we'll be checked for our documents, and then we'll be going through our baggage check-in, where the weight of the baggages will be checked, and then we'll be going for a personal security check so that we don't carry anything harmful. And again, we'll be going inside for immigration check, where our passports and documents for immigration will be checked. And finally, we'll be going to our boarding gate, which lets us to board our flight, which is allowed for us to board the flight. So likewise, we have quality gates for our codes also. It is also like a list of checklists that we must make sure, and any incoming source code must meet all the necessary constraints to get into their corresponding source code repository. For this, we have certain checks that has to be done, and it's like a static code analysis, it's like code review, then functionality test will be done, and then the code coverage will be checked, and finally the role check will be done, who is permitted to check in which code to which branch and things. And finally, only after all these checks, our code will be pushed inside our repository. So basically, doing everything will tell us that we have a proper code check, and a proper code gets inside our repository without any problems. So let's see what are all these checks one by one. First is our static code analysis. It is basically a method of debugging our code to analyze whether our code is going in par with any set of coding rules. That is basically our code will be checked against a set of coding rules which are predefined by others, or we can define our own set of coding rules. So we have two coding rules sets which are defined by Sun, and the other one by Google, and we can check our code against those coding rules. So we have many tools for checking the static code analysis, and one of the very popular tool is the Checkstyle. I hope you'll have gone through this tool somewhere in your coding life, and we can integrate the Checkstyle through many ways to our source code. That can be done through Maven plugin, or we can use the IDE plugins which comes with our IDE, like IntelliJ or Eclipse IDE also. So let's see the demo later. And now let's see what is code review. So code review is basically testing the architecture of our code, that we must make sure that the source code must adhere to a sound architecture, what we define in the designing stages of the project. Or our architectural rules mean here is that we have to organize our different classes in our application, into packages or in layers according to the rules what we define. For example, if we have a package with 3 layers, for example, if we have a presentation layer, a service layer, and then a persistent layer, for example, we can mention the rules like a presentation layer class must depend on a service layer class, and the dependency from a presentation must not go to a class from a persistent layer, and vice versa. So all these tests can be done through this architectural analysis or code review. So we have multiple tools or libraries to do that. Here we'll be looking at ArcUnit, and it is basically a library that will check the architecture of our source code using any plain Java unit test framework. So we all have done JUnit testing, right? So we will use JUnit as the testing framework for this ArcUnit also. This ArcUnit will in turn check for the dependency between our packages, classes, layers, and even if we have any cyclic dependency and more. and this will be done with the ARC unit. And then the functionality test. Here, functionality test will be carried on with J Unit 5. As for the last couple of weeks, we have gone through the SJSON package, right? So I'll be doing the demo with the SJSON thing. And as you have gone through the unit testing, I'm just skipping unit test for now. So just for a definition, what is a functionality test or a functional test is that it is a type of software testing that validates our software against the functional requirements or the specifications which are defined earlier. So next will be the coverage test. Coverage test is that our software, it is the software metric that is used to measure how many lines of code that are executed during any automated test what we have used. Like here, JUnit, it will check for all the lines of, it will go through all the lines of code and it will see whether these line of code comes under testing or not. So this code coverage will act as a feedback in our development process, and it will also help the developers to improve their tests before they commit their code to any build or to other layers of code. And finally, for this code coverage, we'll be using Jacoco. It is like a code coverage report generator, and this can also be incorporated in our code in multiple ways. We'll see that in the demo. And the final check will be the role check. Like if I'm in a develop branch and if I'm not permitted to commit my code directly into a higher branch or something, or I'll be put up to some basic tests, or like I'll be asked to create a pull request to do a commit or something. So that is the role check, and that can be done through our GitHub Actions. Okay, these are all the basic code quality gateways through which our code has to go through first. So now let's go for a small demo, and let's see how all these things are being incorporated.
There's a question from Praveen that is,
Yes,
Arch Unit taking care of modules or not just about packages?
Modules too.
Will it identify the duplicate code or anything like that?
Yes, we can do it, sir. So here first, let's go with the let's start with the check style, and this is the pom.xml of the SJSON code which we have come across for the couple of weeks. And here I'm going to add the Maven plugin for check style. So this is the Maven plugin for check style, and I'm going to just uncomment it. Okay. So this is the Maven check style plugin, and here with I have given the goals as that I'm going to the goal is that I'm going to check the check style violations if anything is there during the build process itself. If I go through any check style violations, my code will not be allowed to build, and I'll get a build failure and will not be allowed to commit my code itself. So for this,
okay, Haripriya,
yes.
I have a question here. So when you are doing your static analysis, right? So there will be some low priority violations that can be allowed to pass.
Yes,
so,
that can be done, sir. Yeah, we can give suppression files, sir. We can give those. We can set our own rules, and we can mention them in the goals itself. We can give suppression files, and we can do that also. So basically, check style will be checking the code against Sun check by default, but it also has Google check also. We can do either way. So I have added the plugin, the Maven check style plugin, but this check style comes.
Check, what we need to do?
Sorry, sir.
For Google check, what we need to do? Like
yeah, this check style is the plugin which IDE provides me. So I can just go and select whichever rule I need. If I want to check it against the Sun check, I can select Sun check. And if I want to check it against Google check, means we can do it through Google check. We can mention it through the, we can mention it in the pom.xml also. Okay, is it good?
So in the check style, what things it will validate? Sorry, if I am asking again.
Yes. Yeah, I'll just make sure. So let me add a small block of code, and we can see what check style can do. So here, okay. So I'll just write a small simple block. So it's return me a string, and so the arguments which I taken, like string or map of string and object, and let it be JSON map. So let this be a basic block, and for now I didn't do any implementation. So if a developer tries to commit this block, let's see if he's going to do a build process. If I go for Maven clean package, what happens is the check style will be doing the code checks. So it's just validating. And it says that there are some check style errors reported and the build is being failed. So for that, I'm going to check where the error has happened. It says that there is a Java doc missing, and it also mentions me that the JSON map parameter should be final. So likewise, the check style can tell me if there are any naming conventions being done wrongly, or if I have any line lengths which is not coming into rules, or if I'm using any unused imports or something also, or like if there is not a good practice of how the class is being constructed. So all these checks are being done by check style. So for this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a Java doc, and mentioning that this is I'm going to tell what the return type is also. So I have added a Java doc here, and I'm going to make my JSON map parameter as final. Okay. So what I can do is I can go check through this also. I'm going to go with suncheck. I'm going to check the current file, and it is telling me that the first sentence should end with a period. It says that the first sentence in our comment should end with a period, and it also says that is followed by a white space. So before final, there is a white space. So these are all the errors which Checkstyle finds out, and I'm going to check it again. And now it says that the Checkstyle found no problems in our file. So now let me go and try to build it again.
So these rules we have to define somewhere, or it will take automatically.
Now I have just used the sun checks from the Checkstyle by default. If we want, we can add it through like a checkstyle.xml file, and we can use that also.
Okay.
For now, I have used the basic suncheck, which Checkstyle supports.
Maven plugin, yeah.
Yeah, Maven plugins, yeah. So
Okay,
now
fine.
all the Checkstyle has been cleared, and the build has been a success one. And this is the first check that that happens. So next is like architectural unit testing, right? So next for that, I'm going to pom.xml, and I'll just add this plugin. This is the a plugin for ArcUnit. For ArcUnit, as I said earlier, ArcUnit is a kind of basic Java test which can be added, and that can be evaluated. So for that, I'm writing a simple test code that which checks my classes. Okay, I'm going to define a rule, architectural rule, that which has to be checked and it must pass. So here I'm going to select which are all the classes I'm going to put into test. So here I'm going to leave out the classes from test, leave out the classes from JAS, and leave out the classes from archives. And I'm going to select other classes which are all inside the package tech@park.json. So I'm going to pick out the classes from that. So after the classes being picked, I'm going to say that any class that resides inside this package should only depend on the classes that reside inside these packages for importing. This is a very simple test which I'm incorporating here. And it says that the classes inside this package should import classes only from this packages like java.io, java.math, java.util, java.lang, etc. So here, this JSON file imports many things from these things. So for example, it is importing classes from util package. And what happens here is, it is allowed to import from java.util. Let me take this off and let me run the ArcUnit test. This is the ArcUnit rule, and I'm going to check the classes. For that, I'm running the test. So it says that there is some failures here. It says that there is an architecture violation, and it says that the rule classes that reside in a package, this package, should only depend on classes that reside in any of the packages what we have included. So as we have seen, I have removed this java.util package, right? So the array list cannot be extended or it cannot be taken off. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put it back, and now I'm going to do the test again. Okay, here the test is being passed, and this is a simple arc unit test that can be done. You can add up as many checks as possible, as much as possible, and you can run the test here. So with this, the code review is being done, and next is the JUnit testing, which everyone will be familiar of. And so I'll be going to the code coverage. So as I said earlier, it is kind of a code coverage report generator. What we are going to use is Jacoco, and I'm going to add a Maven plugin for Jacoco. But what happens here is in IntelliJ, they have provided this plugin by default. See here, we can run our code with coverage. It says that we can run our package with coverage. So what I'm going to do is I'm picking the JSON test file, and I'm going to run our package with coverage. So this is the plugin which IntelliJ provides us. So I have selected which test coverage, which test must go for coverage test, and I'm running that. So here, everything from the package JSON is being tested, and our code is test is covering all the classes, and our test is covering 96% of all the methods. As I have added a new method for now, I have not written any JUnit test case for that method. So it says that only 96% of the methods is being tested. And also because of that, some 4 or 5 lines we have missed to write the test case now. For that, it is saying that 95% of lines have been covered with the test cases. So with the help of this Jacoco, we can check whether our code has covered things or not. See here, we can also generate the coverage report in a text format also. Okay, this is the plugin that comes along with IntelliJ. We can also do it with the Maven plugin. Okay, so this is the Jacoco plugin. Here, this plugin acts with the help of an Jacoco agent. So I have to prepare the Jacoco agent first. So that must be my first execution rule. And next, I'm going to incorporate it with the test phase, that which generates a report about the test that is being done. And what I'm going to check then is that I'm going to check every element from the package, and I'm going to check it line by line, and I'm going to need the percentage of the check as 98%. Only if I go through 98% of classes, methods, and the lines, my code will be accepted for build pass, or else the build will be failed. So that has not been done for now. and this can also mentioned in the in our GitHub Actions, and we can check this also. So this is about code coverage, and the last thing will be the GitHub Actions or the role check. So that can be done through our GitHub branches. Here for the SJSON package, we have just two branches for now. Just like develop and main, and if at all a new solution or new code has been done, we'll be doing it in a separate branch, and that branch has to be pushed to the develop first, and we have to create a pull request for that. And from if we need to push something from a develop branch to main branch, we also need to create pull request. So that can be done through this branch protection rules. Here, my develop branch and the main branch, both of them has been protected with the branch rules. So this is the final thing in the role check. So these are all the basic quality gates our code has to go through before getting into the repository. So this is it for today. And is there any questions for me?
Great session, Haripriya. So coming to one input though, there was one question about duplicate codes. Who asked that question?
Yeah, me, Alok.
Alok. Okay. So Alok, duplicate is actually a code smell. In fact, that comes under code smell category. Duplicate codes, complexity, code complexity, or security vulnerabilities. These are all code smells. And for that, there is a tool called SonarLint. Maybe Priya, we take that as a feedback. You can implement SonarLint as an additional gate. So there's no restriction in gates. You can keep adding as many gates as possible. It's based on your project. But we need to know the cost of the gates. We need to put the gates only if it is really makes sense to the current project. But that makes complete sense. Priya, we will take it as a feedback. You can add.
Sure. Yeah.
Usually you speak about Checkstyle and Find Bugs as two plugins to use. So
Correct.
Don't we use what would we use Find Bugs for?
Find Bug is related to Checkstyle related items. There is, between these tools, there is some overlap also, but it is rare. But if you go by the session that Priya took, right? In fact, that's the research that she did. Each tool has one primary purpose. For example, Checkstyle, Find Bug, they are static code analyzers. So rather than we go by tool, right? You go by categories. That is always better. Look at static code analyzers. Look at code reviewers. Look at functionality testing. Functionality tests, you will have test and JUnit, etc., etc. In code coverage, you'll have something parallel to Jacobo. So in that sense, Find Bug is more related to what Checkstyle is.
In that case, that check marks, we use in our company check marks for that static security code scan.
Check marks, yes.
Check marks, yeah. So that will come under the static code analyzer or like security scan only.
Yeah, that's what I told you, right? Some of the tools, right, they are overlapping. They will do both. But there will be some primary areas. But these are all the activities that you need to do. You need to check your code for static analyzing, code reviewing, functionalities, coverages, branch protections, all this.
Yeah, I think there are a lot more. So we use HP45 for static code analysis. We use SNCC for any vulnerabilities and violations and all. So there are quite a bit of tools that we could.
When we come to security, there are two primary approaches. One is SAST and one is DAST, which is one is static. SAST stands for static application security testing, and DAST stands for dynamic application security testing. And now both they themselves are vast areas within itself. And while some of these tools may always be able to easily implement the static part of the application security testing, but the dynamic part has many sections to it. So you mentioned sync. There is something we also know as a computer of sync is Vera code. So these are primarily all static application security testing approaches.
And there was one question about packages and modules, right? Who raised the question?
I think it was Praveen who asked that question, and
because since layering is there, sometimes someone defines layers through modules also.
Correct. Yeah. Okay. So in fact, it's a very interesting question. Priya answered it correctly, but maybe we'll have an additional point to that. So this Java module system is about modules are group of packages. For example, if you consider Java base, right, what you can control with module system is, if you look at, can I share my screen? I'll just share my screen. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I'm taking some extra time, but I think it's a good question, so we'll go clearly. Consider this case, Praveen. Are you able to see my screen? Module info.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I was muted.
Now, if you look at it,
Okay.
this is module system. In module system, you say this JSON parser, this guy can require only Java base. So this is what you claim. You cannot use anything outside plain Java. That's the idea. But if you look at what is the Java base is all about, it supports these many packages. It has these many packages. So between this Arc unit and module system, right? In module system, you can control which module to use, which module not to use. But with Arc unit, you can go fine grained, saying that in this package, you are supposed to use only java.lang, java.util, java.math, and that much of restriction that you can give. So that is the advantage with Arc unit. With Arc unit, you can go fine grained control of your packages. That's the idea. Did I answer your question?
Yeah.
So with I think the Jacoco plugin by default, you don't have to do the prepare tests and all of those. It happens on its own, and only in certain cases you need to do the prepare test reporting, and then you need to remove the instrumentation after that.
Yes, correct.
So Satish, sorry, I used to run these tools long before, but I think it's the time that these tools are already grown up and like they are matured enough, and most of these tools runs with some kind of rule basic, right? So is there any reason that why they still cannot do a by-way communication? I mean, just fix the code. I mean, why you are giving me the report?
Okay.
You know the problem, fix the code. That's it.
Correct. In fact, that's a great question.
Good job, Vaibhav.
That's a great question. Okay. So this is for all the, I mean, this is one disappointment that I have, but let us, the original reason is more of political, Vaibhav. If you are working in an enterprise application, 100, 200 people working, right? Nobody talks about fixing it. First of all, reporting is mandatory. Then only you can go and fix it. That's the reality. And that's why people are still using reporting. In case, if you look at in SJSON case, it will not report. It will throw an error, which means you cannot even continue with that error. And that is an ideal route. But due to the practical limitations, we still have that report part. But down the line, my expectation is people will get away from reporting. Who cares about reporting? Stop them. That should be the original case.
I mean, this is just like glorifying the problem, right? I mean,
Exactly.
yes. A static code analysis tool understand that you should not do Java lang star as the import. So you know that which import is required, and I mean, it should be like one right click fix all, and it should like fix your whole code. I mean, till you are not doing some kind of say security vulnerability analysis or some kind of fuzzy logic. So it just work on a rule, and like they are always correct. Is it not so?
True. Maybe I will give you a practical scenario. I experimented with two teams. Teams which are already big, they are having a well-established code. Means you cannot go with 100%. You need to start somewhere between 40%, and then you keep increasing the coverage by 50, 60. The score by 70, 80 is what we will be targeting. But if you, on the other hand, if you're starting a team from the scratch, you put these tools at the first level itself, right? The code quality will automatically come. You don't even need to do anything. So it's more about the kind of team that you work on. For example, let me tell you one thing, Vaibhav. When Priya did a demo, it was complaining that all the first lines of the document should end with the dot period statement. You remember, all the documents should end with the dot at the first line. Now, did you see that, Vaibhav?
Yeah.
Now just consider this in an established team where 100 developers are there. It will throw 300, 400 vulnerabilities there because most of the people will leave the dot. So they will get automatically frustrated. But if you give it a fresher, right, he will have the habit of typing the dot at the beginning. Basically, we need to teach in such a way that your code guidelines issue is equal to your compilation issue. Only when you get into that culture, right, the code will automatically come into the shape. Till then, it will be a problem. You cannot just increase the rules as it is. It will complicate stuff.
Yeah, there are some scenarios where people will tend to address only the high severity violations rather than 4 or 5, right? So you have to give some kind of allowance to bypass the other low severity violations. So you need the reporting for that, basically.
Correct. Maybe, this is a little complicated because it's not technical related things, but I will give a very simple practical example of what happened in one of my projects, because that in a way depicts what is the complexity that we have with these kind of rules. Okay, I worked in a system, enterprise system, very big system, and it was showing cognitive complexity. What is cognitive complexity is, for example, if you have a lot of if-else statement, right, you can have maximum of 15 if-else. You cannot increase that if-else beyond that, otherwise it will complicate your code. The SonarLint will complain. Okay, we had a huge debate how to fix that, because we had a lot of cognitive complexities throughout the application, and everybody was struggling to fix that problem. By changing the loop, right, we had functional problems also. At the end, with just one step, we fixed that issue for the entire organization. Can you guess how we fixed it?
You put a case statement.
No, we increased the cognitive complexity from 15 to 25, and everything worked fine, and the report was coming correctly.
That is like fixing the tool in place of fixing the code.
So there is a fine balance between doing technical work and delivering features for the business. So you have to balance those, and that is where these questions about which are high severity, which are low severity come into play. So I think finally at the end of the day, product has to feel justified why you're doing this. And all of these things only add maintenance. It just increases the maintenance for your work, for all of the work we do. So I can give an example. So in my firm, we do static scan vulnerabilities. We have it for the running images. We have it for open source libraries. We have security vulnerabilities, etc., etc., etc. So there are at least 4 or 5 categories. And right now we've got, in my project, we've got about 6,000 violations on the container side itself. Right now, if you sit and fix all of this, you're not going to deliver any valid feature for the business. You're just going to sort of get a kick by improving your code base. That's all. So there has to be a balance between what you can do and what you need to do for the business.
Correct. Maybe we give one example.
So what Satish Varghese told, right? I mean, I should be very happy, like if the tool will tell like these are the 100 rules I'm running, and I should be like selecting from 1 to 60 and say that these 1 to 60 are like very straightforward thing which you are telling me, just fix the code, so that I can only focus on those things which are like really critical, or where say like a rule kind of thing will not work out, right? I mean, there are some analysis, either static or dynamic, which are complex to analyze. There I can understand that tool can only report me, and then I should go and look into that it's an architectural problem or whatever, say like the if condition statement what you have taken. But there are many rules which can be straightforward fixed, is it not so?
Correct. Okay, there are 2 things. Okay, just to put a summary on, I was always talking about bad about interface, but I'll tell you the good part about that is 2 things that we can do. Varghese, to answer your question, right? Like Vaibhav said, there are quite a few fixes that your IDE itself can do. That is auto fixes that we can follow from whatever numbers that you told, right? Definitely you can see great reduction by that. In fact, for documentation, it will generate automatically. That is one. And always whenever you work on enterprises, right, don't open the rule 100%. Like Haripriya said, try to use something like check style suppressions or customized SonarLint, where you just say what is currently required. A very famous example that I know is, consider, Varghese, are you using Spring Boot?
Yes, we do.
Okay, consider Spring Boot. For documentation, checkstyle will complain 100%, it will complain. Okay, but if you look at Spring Boot, if you are using OpenJPA, OpenJPA is your documentation for REST controller. So you can conveniently skip Java doc for controllers, provided you are using Swagger API, because it's a duplicate work. Just for score's sake, we will be covering 100%, but it doesn't make sense. Those kind of small adjustments specific to the products you can customize, then you will see the real benefit. Did I answer your question?
There are many such, like I know for like when we used to use checkstyle and all, there used to be, I mean, some rules are not really, doesn't really make sense. So I believe there was a rule that if your source code did not end with an empty line, it would flag that as an issue.
Correct. That can be fixed.
Yeah, those sort of things, yes, you can maybe get the tool to fix it for you and then do it.
Yes, right. So what is the discussion, Satish, is that it should be a two-way communication, and definitely, I mean, as the two-way communication will start, we will start putting some machine learning and a lot of other things, and we will I mean, we should make the tools intelligent enough to fix the code. I mean,
Yes.
There are already AI tools which do some of this. I'm not used it, but I've heard about some AI code reviews which.
Yeah, maybe small deviating. Forget about AI. IntelliJ IDEA itself supports a lot of refactoring, and they fix majority of this. One thing that I can see is that when I fix this Java Docker related issues, right? There is a plugin in IntelliJ. You give it, you run that entire project, it will create all the Java Docker for you, at least dummy Java Docker. So if we use the existing tools itself, IntelliJ IDE or whatever we have, that itself will help. We just should start using the tools. That's it.
Yeah, that is where we should reach rather than adding more rules. I mean, we should think in this direction also.
I mean, some like Java docs. I mean, adding docs for every method, does it? I mean, that again is that debate over how much recommendation.
No, Java doc, it will only complain you for public method. If you are adding public method, that means it is exposed to everyone. So people should understand what you are writing.
Got it.
Because now it is like my sheet is visible to the whole world. So
yeah.
Okay. This was nice. Thanks a lot, Satish and
Thanks,
Haripriya.
Haripriya, for the session.